A lot of diversity. So I thank you guys for coming out here and celebrating our right to keep and bear arms and celebrate the Second Amendment. Thanks, guys.
Travel safe. She's got a wedding to get off to, so thank you so much for stopping by. So who am I standing up here introducing everybody? I'm Cheryl Todd. This is my husband, Dan Todd. We own both of these businesses right here. I don't know if you noticed right next door, there is a gun shop. It's tiny, but it's got about 1,200 kinds of guns in it. So, I mean, everything from the brand new to the
ones that she knows about.
Yeah, the ones I know about. Exactly. To old historic, there's cannons, there's just a little bit of everything. And it really is a walk through history when you walk into a gun store. It's not just, you know, the latest Glock that's out, which are pretty cool. But I invite you to spend some time over there. We've stayed open late for everyone here, and you could just walk through that middle hallway, and they'd love to show you around. So Dan and I have been here for 10 years. We have azfirearms.com next door. You're sitting in Pot of Gold estate liquidations auctions. We have auctions in here on the first and third Tuesday of every month. We do sell guns. We sell ammo, but we also sell these fun little gadgets and antiques and whatnot that you see around you. We also have a radio show called GunFreedomRadio.com, and we've just recently interviewed Maj on there, and that interview is still up. You can listen to it at your leisure. So I don't want to take any more time talking about us, but if questions come up through the night about, you know, gun store etiquette or anything having to do with the business end of owning a gun store, be sure and ask Dan, because he's been in this business his whole life. We've had this business for 10 years, but he grew up in it. His dad used to be the guy that ran all the gun shows in the state, Curtis Todd, and so he really does have an encyclopedic knowledge of guns.
I'm only 20.
And he's only 20, yeah. He didn't age quite that well, but, you know, he's only 20. Well, we've been married 32 years, so, you know, what are you going to do? Yeah, right? And so also, please be sure and visit all of our vendors that are on the sides of the room. We've got some great people. We've got the Well-Armed Woman. She's going to be one of our speakers. We've got Brandon Hampton. We've got the table next to him belongs to Mark Victor, who is the lawyer that's going to speak to you tonight, give you some great information. Over here, we have Jeff Knox. Now, his dad is legendary in the NRA. His dad's name was Neil Knox. You'll see the book there, written by Neil Knox, and he has the Firearms Coalition, and so always fighting for our rights. Dr. Kelly Ward's table, she just spoke. The AZCDL, these are the people that are on the front lines for us every single day, fighting bad laws, writing good laws. What's that? AZCDL. And this is Dave Cobb. He's the president. He's going to be speaking for them. Who do we have over there? We have John Hansen from Black Wolf Training, and he's got his daughter with him, you know, because guns are for kids too. You just have to train them up right. And next to him is Sarah Gilligan, who is running for Goodyear City Council. Did I already do this side? Yes, Goodyear City Council. Now, without delay, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mr. Maj Toure, who has been featured in the New York Times, on National Public Radio, in Breitbart News, and NRA News for his out-of-the-box approach to Second Amendment advocacy. He's currently on a 50-state tour. His career took off after Philadelphia Weekly featured him as the Prophet of Philadelphia on page 1. Maj is a solutionary hip-hop artist who founded the Black Guns Matter movement in 2015. He's done so much in such a short amount of time, promoting Second Amendment rights, responsibilities, and firearm education for urban communities, and he is my friend, Maj Toure.
I'm not going to use this. Can y'all hear me without this? Everybody, all right, cool. So I'm not going to use it. Okay, so some people in this class today, your feelings are going to get hurt. Okay? You've been told a lie for a very long time. Been attached to this lie. I'm not going to hurt your feelings. All of the information from all of these experts around here, the information that you came here because you believed me, you trusted me, so you said, I'm going to go and listen. I'm going to interact or lead you to interact with these people around that are the experts. They're much better in their lane than I am. They're going to tell you things that's going to hurt your feelings. Okay? Now, first and foremost, how many people in here are aware, not the gun guys, how many people in here are aware of what the Second Amendment is and what it means? Raise your hand. Half of it? Go. What does it mean to you? Yeah.
Well, I almost had it right to bear arms.
Mhm.
It's to protect yourself and against tyranny and
Right.
government.
Yes, I mean, we paraphrasing, but yeah. For me, what the sister said was the Second Amendment for her means the right to bear arms and to protect yourself from the government and tyranny. All right? How many people in here have heard, oh, when they wrote that, A, they didn't mean that for you? Raise your hand. Hmm? How many people in here, when it said, when they wrote, or have heard, when they wrote that, they meant for muskets? Culturally, for me, what the Second Amendment means is the opportunity to tell my government that we hired, time out, we got this, let's reorganize this, and you have a seat for a second. The Second Amendment is the way to defend and protect your belief system. Because if you don't have a way to protect that, you don't really have a belief system. Over time, people have told people, especially from this demographic, that you're supposed to do what the government tells you to do, not the other way around. All right? How many people have heard that? All right. So, this is all good stuff. So, my portion is to give you cultural and philosophical reason on how you can apply that practically to your everyday in our demographic. All right? These other guys, especially the lawyers and women, especially the lawyers are gatekeepers. They will keep you out of jail while you're changing the things that are very unconstitutional. In order to break the matrix, you got to know the rules of it, and those people, lawyers, are gatekeepers. All right? So, you hear all of this great stuff tonight, and if you do not link up with all of these great people after this event, it was just church. It was just a party. You just came and wasted a bunch of your time. If you are not practically applying all of this information and developing relationships with this community consistently. Everybody cool with that? All right, cool. So we're going to do a quick Q&A, right? Now, I don't know how we all want to break it down. Do y'all want to do law first or let's get the firearm anatomy portion out first. All right, so we're going to do quick Q&A on me. I'm going to intervene in between. We're going to keep it real loose. 2 or 3 questions. Then we got to move on so everybody can get a lot of the information, right? So we're going to do Q&A for me. Then we're going to get firearm anatomy. Does everybody have the handout? Y'all going to need those. Those are very important, all right? Also, if you have a cell phone, turn it on silent, bootleg this entire thing. Record it, share it. You will not, it's not no copyright infringement. This is your information. All right? Share it with whoever you want. As long as you can hold your arm up that long. All right? All right. You got the tripod, do your thing. All right, then we're going to go into law. In between, if you have questions, especially the race and cultural questions. This is the part that's going to affect white people's feelings. Because it's a cultural difference. It's not to be offensive. It's not to be racist. In order to address that, you have to address it. All right? So if you have cultural questions about, I know y'all going to ask about the NRA. I know y'all going to ask about Philando Castile. It's fine. This is a safe space. It ain't no dumb questions. And we're sharing information to develop community. All right? All right, cool. I know you're messing with me, right? Oh, that's another thing. If you recognize me from Instagram, or if you think I should know you, tell me your Instagram name. All right? Your government name, I don't know. All right, so we're going to start off with a quick question. If anyone has a question, toss your hand up. We're going to take it forward, then we're going to get straight to the firearm anatomy. All right, now, usually when I say this, everybody goes quiet. Nobody has a question. Do not do that. Because if it takes too long, I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to get this donuts in the back, and I'm going to holler at those. Okay? So, rough right there.
What was your motivation for getting this started, for doing what you do?
The question that he asked was, what was my motivation for getting this started? Pain. A lot of my friends got their heads blown off. So you start losing a lot of your friends to pain or jail, not even because they caught a horrible case because they robbed a store or this, it's because they bought a gun legally and didn't know in Philly, which is a city in the first class, you have to have, even though the rest of Pennsylvania is an open carry state, you have to have a license to carry, and it has to be concealed in Philadelphia. The information is missing. My homies aren't buying dirty guns. They just didn't know. The officer sees them printing, come here, we arrest you. Now you got the felony possession charge. Now you're facing 5 years, and you can never get a license to carry in the state of Pennsylvania. The game. Then that ties into you got to take the plea deal. Take the plea deal, they give you some money. If it's an election year, they're going to lean it towards we're tough on crime. It's a matrix. So me seeing that and traveling around with music and seeing some of my same friends and different demographics are catching the same cases, then I know that it's a highly organized phenomenon. It's not an accident. So now, that highly organized phenomenon feeds into the 13th Amendment, feeds in, how many people in here seen the Netflix 13? Feeds into the prison industrial complex. It's a business. It's what I call a beautiful ugly. Something, the precision of it is beautiful. The intent is very ugly. All right, so for me, between my homies, and a lot of my friends that got killed were warriors. The sucker that shot them just knew they didn't have a gun. If my homie had a firearm, the sucker probably went over there, and it would have been what do they call it? What does it mean when you block something before it happens? Preventative. It would have been preventative. So in seeing those things and seeing that I have a solution for that, if you don't do nothing about it, if you don't apply the solution, you're part of the problem. So that was my, thing. Next question? Sure.
This is kind of more recent, this happened today, but I know that you talked about it in your videos, but I know that you stand, sorry, I don't know how to put it, Jordan Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
So today, the officer was charged with murder and was told to turn himself in, and I know you made a whole video on this, but like scale 1 to 10, like how happy are you? Like you feel like things are changing now that we have all this social media and we're holding things like this that happen, we're holding people accountable. Do you think that like your organization and other organizations that are doing sort of the same thing, holding people responsible for their crimes, do you think that that's like why? Like if this would be 10 years ago before social media.
Yeah. So your answer. So the sister's question is with Jordan Edwards. For those of you who don't know, but everybody in this room knows, Jordan Edwards was a 14-year-old teenager, from Dallas or in Dallas. A corrupt law enforcement officer murdered him. And I want to make sure I'm very clear on that distinction. I have family members and friends that are law enforcement. Will give you the shirt off their back. Best women and men I ever met in my life. So if you came here expecting me to say, is there any children in here?
It was a baby a minute ago.
Hey, they live with the veterans, that's fine.
military kids think about it.
Yeah.
If you came here expecting me to say all law enforcement are bad, you should leave, because I'm not going to say that. When you make blanket statements of when you say everything all the time, you're wrong. Because the sun's been around for however many trillion years. One day the sun's going to leave. It's going to leave. It doesn't matter how our solar system is dependent on it. It's going to leave. So when you say all of those people are like this, you're wrong. So I do not make sweeping indictments of law enforcement. In our neighborhoods, there's so many negative interactions with law enforcement, I understand why we tend to go that way. But my experience dictates other. So the distinction is that corrupt officer murdered him. He murdered him. And all accounts, it's a bad shoot. Your service rifle, that's supposed to be in the trunk. Why do you even have that out? Why was that even out? So he shot him. They arrested the other teenagers after seeing their friends and family member get his head blown off. They arrest him. He lies. Gets away with it for a while. The truth comes out. He gets fired. He just got charged today. So the question being, do I think that social media plays a part in us spreading information quickly? Yes. The drawback to that is you can't just tweet about it and not politically organize. You just kind of that's sexist. You're kind of being a marshmallow if you just tweet about it. But spreading the information and getting it out fast is a section of acting. All right? Because it spreads information far more. Young people, you can't really trick them no more. They'll pull their phone out. No, that's not true. I just Googled it. You know what I'm saying? So yes, it does spread. And I am a little happy that he was charged. because I put together a list of an action item list of things on my Instagram that if he isn't charged, these are some of the things that you can do until he's charged. I believe in violence. I believe in violence and money. And most people are affected by money and violence. So I believe that you should attack people's money violently. So if you're from the city of Dallas, and if that officer isn't charged, when clearly that's a homicide, because if it was me and I'd have did it, I'd have been locked under the jail. No bail, whatever. Right? So putting pressure politically on a Walmart to lean on the political establishment. The Dallas Cowboys don't buy any merchandise. Tell your local police department, hey, we can't really donate until this guy's charged. That's actually good citizenship. Now they'll try to tell you, oh, well, that one officer had nothing to do with that. Okay, well, what does that mean? We, the people, determine what we want to happen. For a long time, you've been in a matrix, sleep, telling you it's supposed to be the other way around. So yes, I am happy about that. I'll be much more happy when he get locked. I'm mad that he got a bail. It's a homicide. Usually there's no bail on homicides. Why does he have a $300,000 bail, which means he only gonna have to put up 30 grand? I got 30 grand. I could just put up my house and get out. So to me, due processing, yeah, it's a yes, but there's still more work to be done. I think he should get locked under the jail twice. Yeah, no, yeah, because just to me, I'm seeing. I got you, buddy. I'm just seeing still too many contradictions. Still too many contradictions. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a person to look the gift horse in the mouth. Okay, it took a minute. Turned yourself in. Cool, that's cute. But it's it's more work to do. Rubber right here than you.
How long is it going to take for friends that got locked up to get their rights restored in order to get guns and to vote?
Well, that's the part of political organizing. What the question he had was, how long would it take for my friends or some of your friends' rights to be restored? That depends on the state that you're in. It depends on the relationship with your governors. There's several ways that you can do it. It's usually, in most states, it's not, and I'm saying that most because I don't know everything, and the lawyers will go over that for your state. However, there's usually not a statute of limitations on certain things. Because the form that you fill out to purchase guns is a federal form, 4473. So it breaks down all of the things, what you can and cannot have in order to, which is, to me, kind of an infringement, but whatever. So saying that to say, it varies, but the most productive means that I've seen is governor's pardons. Especially over a long amount of time. When you having something when you was 19, it wasn't that a violent joint. You 35, 38, 40 now, and you go through that process. I've seen that take up to 2 years though. But that doesn't mean don't rumble, because that's just watching 2 seasons of the Sixers lose for me. So really, that varies, and I want y'all to make sure that y'all asking those legal questions with the lawyer.
So Mike Ward, I'm Kelly's husband. Kelly actually ran that bill a couple years ago here in Arizona, a restoration of rights bill, that if your conviction's thrown out of return, expunged, you can now get your rights restored when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. So here in Arizona, she got that bill signed into law a couple years ago while she was in the state senate.
Okay. So we're going to do law first with that question. All right. Couple more, then we're going to move straight to law. So we're going to do law, then because most of the questions are leaning law. So I'm an audible on the play. All right. Couple more questions. Don't be afraid to ask the rough questions. Here and here. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. You used a snake in it, didn't you?
We don't have to make your
Scared of the mountains earlier. Okay, so his question was, Black Guns Matter, Black Lives Matter. Is there any affiliation, and what do I feel? All right, that's a multi-angled question with a multi-layered answer. All right. The reason why I named the organization Black Guns Matter, because I'm not in the business of doing this. I don't surrender. This is a weak surrendering move. I'm never doing that. You could be winning the fight. I'm never doing this. Ever. Okay? So, for me, I don't believe in trying to convince somebody that my life matters. I don't care if you think my life matters. My Glock going to show you if you try to take it. Saying that to say, I personally understand the social conditions that exist to to create an organization like Black Lives Matter, right? Then on the other side, I understand how the media, somebody could just get a t-shirt and just do anything, and then the media will say, oh, that was the Black Lives Matter organization. But that's partly their fault, because I don't know who's in control over there. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. So with that being the case, I'm not affiliated. None of their organizational members have reached out to me, but everybody in here understands Jordan Edwards. You understand the social conditions necessary that exist that made it necessary for that to happen. But we are not affiliated. So much so that when I see people doing wild stuff with my t-shirt on, hey, bro, you gotta chill because there's cameras around. You know what I mean? There was a guy at the Democratic National Convention. I don't even know how he got our t-shirt. He was lighting an American flag on fire. I kind of gave him a shout out on my Instagram. I said, I don't know this guy. I don't know how we got our shirt, but he seems pretty upset. But we didn't give him the shirt. Damage control, off the top. Okay, so that's the breakdown of the black. But I challenge everybody, especially our white brothers and sisters. I want y'all to take a moment to reflect on the difference culturally in our environments that makes a reason for people to get that upset. We are not just making it up. You know what I'm saying? We're not just making it up. You know? Go ahead, brother, hear from you.
I know you mentioned, that you're going to talk about the law aspect of things, but, my only thing is, you can go ahead, follow the laws. Me being a black man, I can do all the things right, but I'm still going to be held to that standard, that extra layer of scrutiny.
Yes or no? I already know what you want to say. The brother said, we can follow the law. Perfect example is Philando Castile, right? Follow the law, license to carry. There's one thing that Philando Castile did that and everybody gets mad at me when I say it. He made a move that I would never move. I would never do. You reach. Don't reach for me. I'm in North Philly. Do not reach around me. It's a furtive movement. Law enforcement officers understand it. Even sometimes when you say, hey, officer, I'm going to reach for X, Y, and Z, this is not a furtive movement. When you speak the language and you understand, and they see that you speak the language, you get a difference. It's a spell, like spelling. You ever watch like Harry Potter, and they'll be trying like to spell, and they don't do it, they don't say it right, and instead of it turning into a bar of gold, they turn it to like a frog, right? Same concept. When you speak the language correctly, you put a different spell on the person listening. It's a spell. So if you don't know the language, and because of the language, you don't know the movement or the cultural aphorisms that come along with that, right? You make a move even though you're going, hey, I'm not saying that the office is okay at all, right? But if you're making a move and saying, hey, I'm going for my license to carry, and if that office is jumpy and the type of horrible training that they receive is horrible. They got to qualify in most states once a year. Once a year. I shoot better than all of them, right? 95% of them. Right? Don't generalize. Oh. So with that being the case, there's things in there that I would have done differently, and unfortunately that cost him his life. That's why these classes are important. Because my job is to create a standard operational procedure. Every single time this is going to go this way. So if you, as a law enforcement officer, as a regular Joe, if you break that code of conduct, I'm going to defend myself. I don't care what your employment is. Right? But if I'm handling it with that code of conduct and that standard operational procedure, every time it's a firearm around, I do the same exact thing. It's a standard operational procedure. And I know the language. Right? So it changes the dynamic. Now, going back into what you're saying as far as they are going to handle me differently. One, if you say it, then it's probably true. Spelling. Incantation. This is not, we're not making the progress that we're making just because I'm talking about Second Amendment stuff. We're talking about African sciences. We're talking about manifestation. We're talking about creating realities. Right? So if you keep saying that, that's what you're going to get. I took a picture with Hip Hop 45 last week. Everybody know who Hip Hop is in there? Oh, yeah. It's Michael Jackson to me.
He was very excited.
Very excited. I made that happen with my mind, and he knew exactly who I was. Now, I'm saying this because I've been doing the work and being consistently on something. So if you give your power away and say, well, no matter what I do, they're going to do this, then you're right. You know what I mean? Now, if you do everything right, and if you got to lay something down, that's not me saying that. That's Supreme Court decision. It's not me just saying it. It's in the books. I did this. Tupac shot 2 Atlanta off-duty drunk officers, shot him. Didn't even go to jail. Because I did this because they were doing this and they were wrong. There is plenty of times and situations, I get pulled over all the time. I know the language. Oh, you fit the description. Okay, well, what's the flash? What flash came over the radio? You know what I'm saying? Oh, and they always ask, are you a lawyer or are you a paralegal? You're shifting their paradigm. I promise you, if in a neighborhood, a precinct, if 5 officers, because they go back in them rooms and they had them conversations in the locker room, they have them in the range. The last area that we're in, 7 out of 10 guys with license to carry. Is something changing in your precinct? Yeah, they will change. Even if it's for their job, and if not, then you go on offense. You cannot always be on defense. You're going to lose. So sue them. Civil complaints. Lean on Walmart. All of those different things. So no, I understand what you're saying, but you kind of, if you think that way, you're not going to think that way anymore. See what I just did? Inception. So, saying that to say, if you, that's what these women and men are for. To change the paradigm and make it fluid. It needs to be as normal as cell phones. Wait, who was next? Sister Ray.
So, kind of question and a statement.
We're going to do 3 more, then straight to law. 1, 2, 3.
I was riding from Arizona to Las Vegas. I had my firearm in the case in the car, and I had my mom, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And police pulled me over, and he said that my car fit the description, and I was like, the description of what?
Right.
And he was like, why are you here? And I'm thinking, I didn't know what to say, and my mom got really nervous. So my question to you is, what do I do in that case? Because I said, do you need to see my license? And he already had his gun drawn.
What kind of car is it? And is it tent on your vehicle?
It's
Was
a
it nighttime?
tent. It's not a dark tent.
But at nighttime it's different, and that's how they justify it. And even regular tent looks darker at night. So they'll say, oh, your tent was too dark. Even if they don't say it, right? But I'm sorry, that's just where my brain goes.
Okay. So how? So I kept my hands on the wheel, and my mom like put her hands on the dashboard because she was completely terrified. So what do I do in that situation? How do I handle it? I mean, was that?
Well, you handled it, well.
Okay.
I don't, the side of the road at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon is not a place to have an argument with a law enforcement officer. Ever. You are not going to win unless you're ready to shoot something out, and you're going to jail. Even if you beat the case, it's going to cost you $1,000, right? You're going to sit for a minute, and if you ain't built for that, cheese sandwiches and coolies, don't argue on the side of the road, right? You have to develop your own personal level of commitment to the situation. Standard operational procedure. Get the ticket. I'm always attending to. And I also give law enforcement officers the perceived position of control. Hey, how are you doing, officer? Good night. Cool. My hands are still untended to. Even something as simple as, how would you like me to proceed? The language diffuses them. I'm not John Dillinger. If his or her energy changes, she's not, whoever. Stand it out, we go right back to the standard operational procedure. 10 and 2, how would you like me to proceed? If you have your firearm on you, you should definitely know if the state that you're in is a duty to inform state, meaning, do you have to let this law enforcement officer know? And you should, legally, if it's that state, I do, in the states that I have to, otherwise, here's my license and registration. I'm saying, keep it real brief, positive on all of that. And then if it gets to a point, my personal level of commitment is I am willing to get into a fight and a shootout. That's my personal level of commitment. Everyone does not have to have that level of commitment. Everyone does not have to. And I'm willing to go to court. I got plenty of time. When you write me the ticket, I'm going to automatically ask for a different day because I know you, officer, usually go on this day. I'm going to throw your schedule off. I'm going to do everything in my possible power to handle that situation because I have the time. Everyone else, 50, 60 hours a week. You got to find out what your personal level of commitment is. However, if it's just handling that scenario, your primary responsibility is to get home to your family. Sue them later. Be safe, be solutionary. I say that a lot. Saying that to say, your level of commitment is that I don't expect you to be on the road arguing with a state trooper 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Perceived position of power. How would you like me to proceed? Know the state laws in your neighborhood. What is it? 3 more or 2 more?
What I've heard, things I've heard is
Dangerous way to start a thing. What I've heard.
Can it ever come to a point where we as black people can be stripped of our right to carry a gun?
Yeah. Every American. Now, let me say this. The system. No. The question was, is there a way where black Americans, all gun control comes out of that thought process, right? Her question was, is there a way that all black Americans specifically can be targeted and you guys aren't, and women aren't getting your right to carry? One, they try to do it systematically through, getting felons, all that other stuff. But all gun control comes straight out of emancipation. Hey, we were just beating the hell out of these people that were slaves. Now they're citizens. Create rules that they cannot have firearms. Jim Crow, all of that. And then just how the system operates is just like anti-gunners. They adapt very well. Racism, institutionalized racism, bigotry, those things adapt very well. So then it becomes so convoluted in a concept or an institution that you almost can't call it out. So directly can they say, that's why I play it. Oh, so you're saying that I'm not a citizen? Oh, okay, well, then I shouldn't give you tax money because I'm not a citizen. But now you got to say it. Spell it. You have to say it. But if you're not going to say it, we're going to play this innuendo game, okay, I'm going to win. Right? So no, specifically, generally, it was created that way, but they've adapted. After a certain point, you do it by not knowing the information, right? Or not applying the information. It's a trap. They set the trap. You got to walk into the trap, right? But as far as specifically saying, because some people will say, oh, since Trump got in office, not knowing that Trump is the most positive 2A president America's ever seen. Ever. But the media said, oh, he's racist. No, he's a jerk. He's a billionaire. He's far away from us. Racist. I hung out with him last weekend, or Sunday at least. You know what I'm saying? And knew exactly who we were and what we were doing. Wasn't a political bobblehead. Knew exactly what he was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So no. The funny thing is, this is where some Democrats in here feelings will be hurt. Most of your politicians that happen to be Democrat are extremely racist. And they put out policies that do exactly that. Stop you from having a firearm. They do it under the guise of, we just need to keep people safe. We need to keep the community safe. And you're voting for things locally that are actually hamstringing you on a different level. But if that guy says it, you're going to go, oh, he's probably a racist, one of them crazy NRA guys. But if I say it and then say, I'm saying the same thing that they're saying, now it's a community, right? So it started that way, it changed up a bit, it adapted. Now it can only happen that way because they're not going to say it because it's too obvious, right? So, yeah. Who else was it?
I know that you kind of just mentioned, but kind of goes off of your interview with Tommy Lauren, when he said, when she asked, how do you break the stereotype? If she was to walk in the neighborhood, or you to walk in her perceived thoughts, like that kind of goes on the same thing. And with the NRA, there was not a lot of black people there. And like you made it a point to say that if you call Noir, there wasn't a lot.
Well, what do you mean? Wasn't we at the convention this weekend, or
Well,
just generally?
Well, a lot of people are saying that it's mostly for white people and stuff
See?
like that. But no, I'm just saying that that's what they're saying, and that's what I'm saying. Like
They are lying.
That's what you said on the floor. Is how do you break that stereotype? You show up.
Right.
You do the things.
Right.
You get involved. So like for him, his kind of question was more scared about the law.
Right.
But the more active you get,
Yep.
the more you know, then the more you're not that person that they want to believe that you are.
They're playing a huge game of poker with you, with your life. If I could bluff you, I could beat you all day. Oh, I'm a fool. I win. That's it. That's it. That's all they're doing. They're coming up with little things to convince you to not participate. If I can make you depressed and feel defeat, that's how Mike Tyson used to knock everybody out. The fight's over before you got in. You're scared of it.
Plus, he hit it really hard.
And it is really hard. Right. You know what I'm saying? Until one day, some guy was like, I can fight this guy, and he knocks him out. Never heard of that guy ever again. Buster Douglas. But he knocked this guy out. Iron Mike. It's the same thing. They are not a Goliath. They're just very good at manipulating the matrix. It's your matrix, though. It's yours. You created math, science, all of this stuff. Right? We the people. That's what the thing says. It doesn't say like kind of some of us. Or we the corporations. We the government. You are society. My job is to change your paradigm shift. That's it. And then to link you with experts in your community. Because I'm going to leave. I'm out. I'm going to eat cheese sticks. All right? Where are we going?
So, considering all these unfortunate events where these kids and young men have, lost their lives, what do you say to the kids, especially in the inner city, about interacting with law enforcement? How do you start that conversation? What's the appropriate protocol to remain compliant and to go home alive?
Right. I tell young people this. The question he had was as far as young people with all of the things, because the homicides the men seem to be getting younger. One, it's tyranny. That's what it is. It's tyranny. One, I want everybody to get on the same page of language. Tyranny. Everybody in this room is a patriot from now on. You're a patriot. The duty of a patriot is to protect its countrymen or his or her countrymen from the government. That's what a patriot is. You are a patriot. Black people in America have way more responsibility for being a patriot with our history. And just as much right because of 400 years of slavery, just as much right to the American dream as everybody. Everybody here is more than likely from somebody, somewhere else. It's just what it is. All right? So I would tell young people the same exact thing. And by giving them that certain level of conditioning and confidence from the gate, there's a way to respect your cultural background and still be American. That's the part where they trick us a bit. Oh, that ain't for me. That everything is mine. Everything is mine. Respectfully. So I instill that type of confidence in young people, as well as giving them that military strategic breakdown. Because everyone doesn't have that understanding, and some people are bigots. Black, white, green, I don't care. Some people are bigots. Give them identifying language and cues to understand and determine which one is which. Just like the street. He's about to come try to rob me. I'm on deck. I'm ready. Nah, he just kind of, you got to understand, it's cultural. So giving them that, especially from a younger age, because they have a lot less of the biases that we have. They more like clean slates. You know what I mean? So I would give them the same information and just be straight up with them. That's how I do it.
So you would think that it would be the parents of the children.
Yeah, the parents.
It's like the parents have to start it. Like if you want your kid to be comfortable with police and not know what to do with them, you have to teach them. They can learn by example.
Right.
If you're afraid of the police every time they do something, your kids are going to be afraid of the police.
Right, and by giving them the understanding that you are a patriot, again, the government works for you. You do not work for the government necessarily, right? By giving that, instilling that into them. And, okay, I've sold a lot of things, cameras. Okay, so my life, has not always been the smoothest, right? I've always not caught a case because I've made a point of communicating with law enforcement. Hey, what's up, man? Neutralize. A lot of times. You see me as a human, I see you as a human. I don't care what your uniform is. Hey, what's up, man? But if I'm nervous and what's this guy doing? They're trained that way. So by explaining it, by instilling confidence in not even just young people, the populace in general, then you get that type of response because, okay, you're here to protect and serve me. Public servant, peace officer, law enforcement, well, I'm not doing anything that needs to be enforced. So those are the things. Yeah, who else?
Well, we have tickets for being here, so we're gonna give away stuff because you told me I could interrupt you.
Okay, damn.
So if you came in, you should have gotten a green ticket. That's what this is for. We are also doing a 50-50 raffle, which means whatever we raise tonight, half of it goes to Black Guns Matter, the other half goes to the winner. So if you need to buy those tickets, you'll see Dana in the back. She's wearing a green shirt with a pink undershirt. But for now, this is just for being here. So this will be for a $25 gift card to AZ Firearms.
So wait, before everybody get up, how are we going to get these? They already got them?
Yeah, no, yeah. If they want to buy the 50/50 where half of it goes to your organization, they have to pay for that.
All right, so if you want to, go in the back. If not, we're going to move forward.
So hang on.
All right, Cheryl's going to introduce the next phase of everything. I'm going to just interject in between, and it was one more question.
So, myself, and I'm sure a lot of folks here are really fuzzy on the history of the NRA. Can you touch on that real quick?
Sure. Brother wants to know about the history of the NRA. How many people in here have already heard that the NRA is racist, they rednecks, that you're going to go down there, they're going to shoot you, they're going to hang you? All of that. I'm a member of the NRA, me personally. All right? The National Rifle Association was created. It's the largest Second Amendment and civil rights organization pretty much in the world. All right? There's a lot of things wrong with the NRA. There's a lot wrong with it. There's also other organizations. United States Concealed Carry Association, Second Amendment Foundation, all these different organizations. The reason, when you're getting the most money on the block, you're going to get hated the most. The NRA is getting the most money on the block. With that being the case, do they have a wealth of information? Absolutely. You should check their website out. Or there's this really cool website called officialblackgunsmatter.com. Has a lot of similar information on that website. Saying this to say, I would recommend that everyone looks into the NRA. There's not a door that says, oh, this is only for white people. The other history that, we were just talking about this earlier today, the other history of the NRA that they don't talk about is, during Jim Crow, the NRA had the NBC had the only non-segregated shooting club or shooting range in D.C. They don't talk about how the NRA helped Dr. Martin Luther King when he got denied his license to carry. Yes, he did apply for it. When he got denied that license to carry, the NRA was helping. They don't talk about they gave the Deacons of Defense their ammunition. They don't talk, and that's the NRA's fault. If that's good history, why aren't you saying it? Why is this? We said this literally earlier today. I could walk everybody in here. If they didn't have a different misconception, we could have an NRA membership right now. But there's a looming thing that says, oh, that's only for those crazy white dudes. I was at the convention last weekend. It was amazing. It was amazing. Got so much free stuff. It was amazing. So I'm saying this to say, if you look into the NRA, because I personally think they should be moving faster with diversity. I move very fast. Right? So to me, I think they need way more work in that regard. However, is the information sound? Yup. Is their PR team still slow? Yup. But that doesn't change, A, those things that they did in the past that were productive, and B, the things that they did in the past that were not productive. Like they supported the Mulford Act. If you don't know the Mulford Act, you should Google it. But at the other part of that was, after that, they also don't tell you that there was a coup in the NRA, and that leadership got kicked out and all of those other different things. That's a whole long conversation in and of itself. But for me, if you're thinking about concealed carry, I will look into the United States Concealed Carry. I will look into the Second Amendment Foundation. And even bigger than joining the organization and paying dues, I will make sure that you're linking up with your local politicians to make sure that the bills on the state, city, and state level stay in alignment with your freedoms. Because in essence, you're just going to those organizations to do the same thing. You get in the middleman, when you can just get right to the plug. These people around you are the plug. You're going to get lit. It's the plug right there. All right, so I'm going to pass it off to Cheryl.
All right.
Everybody got it?
And I don't trust my voice. Fantastic. I don't trust my voice to carry to the back. First thing, I realized our bad joke is still up here for the world to see. Everybody knows Maj loves Dunkin' Donuts coffee, right?
Yep.
Well, my daughter Cassie, right there in the pink, got into a heated debate with him in Atlanta over because she's a trained barista. Okay, so we wanted to give him a little bit of a hard time, but you know, the cameras are flashing, so don't want to confuse folks about the Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks.
Wait, is this gift card or something on it?
No. He was about to trade it in for some Dunkin' Donuts. So Cassie's going to do a drawing, and then I want to introduce you to one of the gentlemen on the panel that's going to address a question that we had about, you know, can they just take all of our rights away? Can they do that? So Dave Kopp's going to be up right after this.
Would you grab in? All right. Sorry. Number 883201.
Ah! No,
looks like they're winning. So I also when Maj was talking about the history of the NRA and how there was the split off and all of that, Jeff Knox can tell you all about it. His dad was in the eye of the storm of all of that, and the book is probably all about that. So if you have any questions about that, Jeff is just a font of information, an encyclopedia of information. Absolutely.
Y'all are in Arizona. I know you've been to a predominantly white church and wondered as you walked through the door. And 99 times out of 100, you were embraced and welcomed, and they were like, "Oh gosh, yes, we're really glad you're here." Guess what? The NRA, gun groups, we've been labeled as racist. Y'all are just a bunch of white guys. You don't like women. You don't like people of color. You're racist. And we can prove it because there aren't any white. You're all white people. Well, if you don't come, then we can't prove that we're not racist. You're not here. You know? So it's a cycle and it's a circle. And what you will find, and what I think Maj found when he went to Atlanta, is that we want diversity. We don't want to be labeled racist. And it's like, well, I got this friend who's black, so I'm not racist. You know, it's awkward. It's awkward for us because that's not who we are. That's not what we want. We want you in our organizations, in our community, as part of us, and that's.
Yeah, and keep in mind too. He's right. Keep this in mind. If you join the NRA, you can vote in the NRA. And if you vote in the NRA, you have a voice. If you want to change things, I think we need the NRA. I think we need it as a voice for our gun rights. Really bad. And the more people that join, the better we're going to be. So if don't sit in the chairs and do nothing, sign up and vote.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Jeff, so much for that. Okay, so Dave Kopp is the president of the AZCDL, and the AZCDL is the Arizona Citizens Defense League. So what they do is they go to the nation's capital, the state capital, I know, bite your tongue, every single day that they are in session. They are fighting bad laws, and what they do is they'll have a law about, I don't know, a park or something, you got to do something, and they'll slip something in there about guns. And these guys watch for that, and they fight back against it. And then they write good laws, and they have changed our state so much to the better for the work that they do. And I just wanted to give Dave a few minutes to just kind of talk about the work they do and the importance of belonging to groups like that and supporting them because they're a volunteer organization.
Thanks, Cheryl. My voice won't carry either, so I'm going to use this. Everybody knows about the NRA. The NRA is the gun lobby, and everybody in the media talks about the NRA like it's the only gun lobby. Every state in the union has a group like us. And that's where the real work gets done because the state legislatures are where the laws are passed that affect you the most. You hear about the ones on the federal level. That's why you hear in the news all the time. Well, Washington is doing this, Washington is doing that. Washington moves at a snail's pace. And pretty much every law that they talk about in the media, they might have introduced it 3 years ago, and 5 years from now, you might hear about its passage. Here in Arizona and in every other state, when a law is introduced, it's either going to get done this year, or it's not going to get done at all. And people like me, we go down there and we say, okay, we really want this done, and if it doesn't get done this year, we come back the next year and say, we still really want this done. We go year after year and try and get these laws done. How many people here are familiar with constitutional carry? You don't need a permit to carry a gun. It took us 5 years to get that passed. NRA got all the credit. And that's okay, because we're the gun lobby. And, the gun lobby is this ubiquitous thing to the media. The big bad gun lobby. You don't have to carry a permit with you when you have a gun in Arizona. And isn't that crazy?
No.
It's freedom. Amazing thing to the media that you can have freedom. But freedom you know, it's messy and sloppy, but it belongs to every single one of us. And it's something we got to work for every single day. And it's colorblind. And so, you know, I want to echo what Jeff mentioned about welcome everybody to the gun lobby, because I don't care what color you are. I don't care what kind of gun you have. And I'll talk about that all day long. You know what, you got a Ruger? Oh, you got a 1911? I got dozens of guns, and I will sit here and talk to you about what kind of guns you got all day, and we'll go to the range. Of course, that's what gun people are about. We're all about the guns. And you know, the guys in the media, they think that's crazy. Why are you so fascinated with guns? It's fun. And it's about freedom. And you defend yourself, and you defend your country, and you defend your freedom. So that's what we do. Ed over there is the table guy. He runs every table in the city of Phoenix, and he's done it for years, and he's just absolutely dedicated to it. And he keeps us going here in Phoenix. He's happy to take your money. And if you want to join us and help us out, go talk to Ed. But we're the guys that get it done here in the state level. If you've got an idea for a law you think that needs to be passed here in Arizona, let us know. Most of the bills that we've gotten done in the last dozen years that we've been around have been suggestions from members. People call us up or write us or email us and say, hey, you know, we really need to get this done. Just this session, the governor signed a bill saying if you're an employee or a contractor for a city in this state, you can't be denied the ability to carry a gun in your own property or in your own vehicle. We've had members telling us for years that they were denied. Hey, you know, I work for the city of Flagstaff, and I'm driving up from Page, and I'm on a contract, and they tell me I can't carry a gun in my own damn car. That's crazy. We finally got that fixed. Took us several years to get it through, but we finally got it through. Member suggestion. So that's what we do, and we're happy to help anybody. Just let us know. And you don't even have to be a member for us to take your suggestion.
And a year's membership is $30, so pretty cheap.
Right. Real quick, to touch on that, remember how I said when I leave, there's going to be a community of people that you have to foster and grow that relationship with? The political arm of it is right there, right? So think of the NRA like the record label. These guys being the independents, they come up with all of the actual creative stuff. All of the stuff that actually matters to everybody musically. Then the big company comes in and goes, oh yeah, that's us now. Right? So on the level that you have, you actually influence the policy up by doing it this way, from the ground up. You actually have more power on this side, in your state, where it matters the most.
All right, I think Cassie's got a couple more giveaways, and then we've got Marc J. Victor, our self-defense lawyer, going to talk to us about what now, right?
While you're doing that,
Yes.
one of the things that Dave didn't tell you is when you become a member of ACCDL, you're going to get email alerts of what legislation's on the table and an opportunity to click and interact directly with your representative, state representative, your state senator. And so that's another way for you to be able to engage from home, on your phone, on your computer, to make sure that good laws get passed and bad laws go away.
Your state senators and state representatives actually answer their emails.
Well,
Sometimes, but when you email them and go, this is garbage, and I need you to fix it, they'll go, okay, and then can I call you tomorrow? That actually makes differences.
Are there any firearm instructors in the crowd? Boom, 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 boom,
Firearm instructors in the crowd.
boom,
Mike?
boom.
Stand
Mike?
up if you're a firearms instructor. Let
Hey,
people
firearms
see you
instructor,
connect
stand
with these people.
Right.
These are firearms instructors who live in your state, live in your area.
Right.
So, as a firearms instructor, I have an offer for you. If you don't know firearms, you want to learn. Okay? I was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, so, you know, guns will bite you if they're anywhere in the room. It's California, right? But I came to that a little later in life, and so both Mike Abramovich here, Mike is, I call him my senpai. I'm a martial artist at my core. My name is John. I own active self-protection, and I'm going to show you some guns later, but if you need to get trained and finances are a problem, I don't care, I'll train you anyway. Okay? So we're doing basic pistol in 3 weeks. myself with it, and I want to learn to be safe with it, and I want to learn how to use it effectively, not as a concealed carrier, but to just learn what a gun is. You're invited to it. If money's a problem, just talk to me. My name and my email address, my phone number are in the back of this thing, okay? Just call me, all right? If you want to learn how to carry safely and effectively, I do that. That's what we do, because I want everybody to be safe. To me, the big thing why I carry a firearm every day is because then you cannot force me to do nothing. If I'm going to do something, it's because I want to, because you convince me it's a good thing to do. You can't force me. And I don't care who you are. And so then we just, guess what? We have to be civil.
All right, you ready for a drawing?
8, 3, 2, 9, 7. 3, 2, 9, 7.
Got it right there. You go.
Okay, we're in the back of the room. Thank you for standing all this time, everybody back there. That's got to be getting hard on the feet and the knees.
BSN Security in Scottsdale donated this $25 gift card.
BSM Security stopped by yesterday, bought 4 gift cards, said we have mad respect for Maj, and we want to help out the people that come to his class and give a $25 gift card from AZ Firearms. So we really appreciate that. BSM Security.
I want to make sure that everybody taking notes, writing this stuff down. You're not going to retain all of this information. Please write it down. Please put it in your phone, whichever way you got to do it.
There's Post-it notes and pens in your bags.
Boom.
Are there any
Boom.
more bags? We do have bags. Back Earl, raise your hand. There's bags right behind Earl. If you didn't sit in a chair, there's bags right there. Also, if you have a space next to you, can you raise your hand so we can get some more people seated? If you are not sitting, follow one of these hands up in the air so you can get a chair.
All right, so self-defense law is a very specific area of law. And I don't think you can just, throw a dart at the yellow pages, which they don't even make anymore, I don't think. So it's good to already be introduced to someone who gets it, who's been there, who does it all the time. And right now I'm going to introduce you to our friend Marc J. Victor, right here on the end.
You guys hear me okay? All right. Well, I guess first by way of introduction, my name is Marc J. Victor. I'm the attorney for freedom. That's my website. I love being a lawyer. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for 23 years. Some of you have probably seen me on TV. I represented Elizabeth Johnson in the Baby Gabriel case. I also represented Dr. Peter Steinmetz, who took his AR-15 for a walk to Sky Harbor Airport. Remember that one? He was my client. That one turned out the right way. All charges dropped, AR-15 returned, and petition to clear record granted. We've done a lot of high-profile cases. This one's going to get me a couple of booths, but wait until the case is over. I also represent Jeff Bernard, who is that Flagstaff police officer who punched that woman in the face. Stand by on that one. I'm glad I got a few uhs on that. Wait till the case comes out. That one is probably going to trial, and but I'm just going to say, wait and see how that one shakes out. But in my 23 years, I've done more gun cases than I could possibly remember. I think it's probably because I'm an attorney for freedom. I love being a defense lawyer. I love representing people. But I'm a freedom activist first and foremost. It's my favorite thing to do. Someday maybe I'll get into politics. I did run, by the way, for U.S. Senate as a libertarian against Flake and Carmona. So all of you who didn't vote for me and voted for Flake instead, I guess you can regret that. I want to say this. I've never met Maj before. I heard him talk. I liked 98% of everything he had to say. I was very impressed. I want to react a little bit to some of the things that he said. First off, I think the most important thing that he said up here tonight that I heard was the case against broad generalizations. I'm telling you, it's one of the biggest problems we have in our world right now. The second I hear the statement coming from somebody's mouth, all so-and-so, I'm already tuned up. Because I know that's not true. It's short-sighted thinking. I get called all the time to comment on these police shootings when the police shoot somebody. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what the color of the skin is of the officer or of the person shot. I'm calling balls and strikes. And I'm also waiting for the evidence to come in. If I got one bone to pick with Maj, it's his opinion that there should have been no bond for that police officer. I don't know anything about that case. But I want to say this. Either we're committed to the concept of presumed innocent or we're not. And for all of you who were feeling like Maj was, that this guy should be held with no bond, I can promise you, if you get charged with the crime and you're held no bond, you won't be happy with that. And you shouldn't be. I don't like the concept of no bond. I think it should be unconstitutional. Either people are presumed innocent or they're not. And if we're committed to the concept, we ought to say, look, unless the person is clearly a danger right now to the community, or we got good reason to think that this person's going to be in China tomorrow and not available to stand trial, they should be released because we care about that concept. If we abandon innocent until proven guilty or proof beyond a reasonable doubt, or we don't try the case in the damn press, we're not Americans anymore. I got a good buddy. He's an Italian attorney. Practices in Italy, Spain, and Germany. And I talk to him all the time, and I got to tell you, our system is screwed up in a lot of ways, but I think it is the best in the world. The system itself processes cases pretty well. What is screwed up in our system is the law. It's the law that needs to change. No matter how good our system does, until we end this stupid drug war, no matter how good we process cases and get people who are really guilty, I don't care if what they're guilty of is possession of marijuana. We got to change that law. We got to end the drug war. If you want to reduce violence in our society, we got to reduce cops smashing in front doors to get people smoking harmless green leafy substance. I also want to say the other most important thing that Maj said that I was very impressed with, and I'd like to talk to him a little bit more to know what he means by this, but this concept of the matrix, we got to think differently. I can't believe in 2017 we are still letting idiots in the government and idiots outside the government divide us on stupid things like the color of our skin. Oh, he's black, he's Mexican, he's Asian. Who cares? What I care about is my people. My people are for freedom. My people are for peace. And my people are for love. I don't like it, or actually I do kind of like it because it gives me an opportunity. I work out with a good buddy of mine who's probably the blackest guy here. And anytime a black guy walks up to him and says, "Hey man, how you doing, brother?" and blows me off, I like that. Because it gives me an opportunity to walk up to him and remind him that we're part of the human community and he should wake up. Fine, say hello to your black brother. Say hello to your white brother too. It works both ways. When I was in the Marine Corps, everybody was green. Those of you who served in the Marine Corps know what I'm talking about. We had dark green, we had light green. Were you in the Corps? All right, well, you may know what I'm talking about. We need to start thinking about each other based on what is going on between the ears and what's going on in the heart, rather than what color their hands are or some stupid shit like that. Let's move on. It's 2017. If you're black and a black person does something wrong, let's call them out. Just like if you're white and a white person does something wrong, let's call them out. Let's stand up for people in groups we're not in. I'm very not gay. But I'm the first guy to stand up for gay rights. Right? I mean, everybody supports the rights of other people to do things that they do. Big deal. When I speak to the gun guys, they're so pumped up about rights of gun owners to own guns. Yeah, me too, that's great. I said, how do you feel about gay rights? That's how it sounds. How do you feel about the rights of people to smoke weed? Same thing. Just like when I speak to the weed groups. And I'm on the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I've been on their national committee for 23 years. When I speak to the weed guys and I ask them how they feel about guns, these are the same issues, folks. They're all the same issues. The question is one of freedom. And it doesn't matter if the expression of freedom is guns or drugs or euthanasia or, dare I say, taxes. It's the same issue. Who's in charge of you? You or someone else? And I don't care if it's the majority or your neighbor or some idiot politician. My crowd says, the freedom crowd, the Americans, the real Americans, the spirit of our country, we should be in charge of us. That's all I wanted to say about that. I wanted to thank my man Maj over here for bringing it real. Thanks, my brother. All right, let me talk about a few things. First of all, no one's got to take notes on any of this stuff because I got a pamphlet out here that talks about the 5 things every responsible gun owner ought to know. Pretty much everything you need to know is in there. I've got about a 3-hour presentation that I'm going to squish into about 20 minutes here. But I want to say, knowing the law is important, and I'm going to get into that. But this isn't that presentation. This is the stuff that I've learned over 23 years of representing people, over probably 15 years of giving speeches at the Crossroads Gun Show and listening to your questions. This is one of the fastest ways that good people get into big trouble. Or let me say it like this. Good people ruin the rest of their lives. Guns is one of those areas. So I'm putting this into the 5 things that I think you really need to know that you probably don't know because you couldn't know unless you represented people in the system. First thing, and don't forget this one. This is probably the most important thing. Shut the hell up! Really. I know you're innocent. I know you're a sweet talker. I know you're going to talk this cop into thinking everything's great about you. But you're not. So just shut up. I wish I could just say that and move on to number 2. But I see the early Marc Victor would have just moved on. Said, shut up. Everybody understand. Now let's move on. The smarter Marc Victor knows you don't listen to me because you think you understand things better. Some of you, fortunately, will be reminded of my advice. Here's how this goes. Think of it like this. I got a deal worked out with the cops all across the country. Just at the time you need to be reminded to just shut up, they're going to tell you that. Which is going to remind you about the short, handsome lawyer that you met tonight who told you to shut up. What they're going to say is, you got a right to remain silent. Duh. Use it. But for the extra slow people in the crowd, they follow that up with something even more telling. Think about this one for a moment. You know what's coming, right? Anything you say, not maybe, not might, will be used. How will it be used? Against you. Hello? That should ring, that should turn the light bulb off in your head, on in your head. Hey, someone once told me just shut up. Maybe I ought to shut up. Here's what I would like the cops to say. Anything you say, and some stuff you didn't even say, will be used against you. You guys think I'm joking, and some of you are laughing, but I'm telling you, in gun cases, I have seen this personally. I have seen it in cases where the statements were recorded by the cops. Still, in the police report, statements in quotes that my guy did not say, which is fine when the statement is recorded and I can prove that. But a lot of times, almost all the time in the federal investigations, they don't record the interview. So you're telling them basically, say whatever you want about what I said. You've got to be very careful about opening your mouth and talking. And again, I want to echo something Maj said. I am not going to stand up here and tell you that all cops are bad. I'm going to go out on a limb and say most cops are probably pretty good. And this is coming from me. I've been searching for 23 years for cases of racism, discrimination, bad cops. I do civil rights now because I've gotten to the point with my firm where I want to stick it to the man when they stick it to people. I like doing that. I like suing the government. I'm the guy who came out and said, driving while black. I got a driving while black case. My guy was charged with a DUI, 000. I'm happy to stick it to the government. But I also want to keep it real. The vast majority of these cops are good people. Sometimes they make bad judgments in a split second. That doesn't take them out of the good people category for me. But some of them are bad. Some of them are criminals. Some of them are now sitting in prison cells in this state for violating the law. And you don't know who you're dealing with. I don't know about you, but I ain't trusting my freedom to some cop who I don't know. So trust me, just shut up. But there are other reasons to just shut up, especially in gun cases. You guys talk, and I say you guys, some of you guys talk, because what you think is your silence is going to be used against you. What you think is like in the real world, somebody says, hey, what happened? And you say, hey man, I'm not saying anything. They're going to say, aha, you must have done it, right? We gave you a chance to talk and you didn't talk. You've got to understand how the rules of the justice system work. That will not be used against you in all 50 states. The way that plays out at trial is the cop's on the stand, prosecutor talks to cop and says, what happened next? Cop says, I got the call, I showed up at the scene, I saw this person, who's that? Oh, that's the defendant sitting right there next to the defense attorney. They make the big identification in court, and then they say, what happened next? I arrested him, took him to jail. They skip right over the part about, I asked him what happened, he said, I want my lawyer, or he said, I got nothing to say. If they don't, if they say that in trial, it's going to be a mistrial. That is not, unless you've got a stupid defense attorney who's sleeping at the switch, which happens sometimes. But sharp defense attorneys are sitting there, listening carefully, hoping that the officer is going to say, yeah, I asked him what happened, and he said, I got nothing to say. Or even better, I want my lawyer. That's going to be a mistrial. That's what's going on up there. I say, Judge, can I approach? Judge says, yeah, come on. I come up there. I say, Judge, did you hear the idiot cop just comment on my client's right to remain silent? You've got a right to remain silent, and because of that, the jury is not told that you invoke that right because they are not allowed to make any negative inference from the fact that you just shut up. So another way of saying it is there ain't no downside to just shut up. You can make your statement at any time. Some of you may remember in the Steinmetz case, he was smart. He's the guy who brought the AR-15 to the airport. I'm not saying that was smart, but at least he shut up. I called a press conference. That's why you guys all saw that on TV. Every station, TV, radio, even 2 Spanish stations, came to my office while Steinmetz issued a statement. But he issued a statement after he talked to me, and after I saw the video, and after we analyzed the case, and we decided it was the right thing to do. He didn't make a statement out there at the scene to the cops. Plus, I know especially like groups like, sometimes they're going to bag a little bit on the Concealed Carry Association unless they've changed their policy. They hand out general advice. Other defense lawyers do this too, and I disagree with it. After a shooting, say I wasn't fair for my life, and then just shut up. No! When you shot the dude, is that what it says? I got the card right here. Say the following, yeah. This man tried to kill me. Well, that's great. Until the evidence comes out you shot the dude in the back. Now you got a problem, right? You might have had a great defense. I shot the dude because I was trying to protect some third person, a third party who was in a different area, different location. There could be many other reasons. Arizona has 13411, the crime prevention statute. A different reason you can shoot and kill another person, having nothing to do with I wasn't fair for my life. We got a whole laundry list. And by the way, these guys here did a great job years ago fixing that 411 statute. I don't want to get into it because we don't have enough time. But the gun lobby in this state fixed what the court tried to screw up. But you can shoot and kill another person under different circumstances if you're doing it immediately to stop them from committing one of the crimes on the list. I'm not a big fan of that section. I don't like you to rely on it. But as a defense attorney, to have another theory out there is wonderful. Why screw that up by opening your big mouth? If the best statement is, I was in fear for my life, say it later. You can say it any time. You can say it for the first time on the stand. Why not do that? Also, watch out for lying police officers. Some of them lie. You don't know who you're dealing with. Right? It's the same thing. There's good and bad in every group. You might get, I've had cops tell me, I don't think non-police officers ought to have guns. I've had cops in this state tell me that. Do you really want a cop like that after you're shooting, deciding what you said and what you didn't say? And I can tell you this, it's often that my clients say, I never made that statement. The thing it quotes in the police report. What percentage of the time do you think that statement that my client never said is a statement that helps the case? That'd be zero. It's always the worst statement in the whole case. Every single time. And in the case where I caught the cop getting it wrong in the recorded one, it was the statement that got my guy many years of a prison offer. Until we uncovered the fact that he never said that, the guy wound up with probation. So just keep your mouth shut. Just trust me on this. Couple quick exceptions to this. All rules have exceptions, right? First, the dreaded 911 call. You just shot somebody. You got this blubbery, bleeding out mess now in your living room. You probably should call 911. Best plan, get your buddy to call 911. The information that should be conveyed is, hello 911, there's been a shooting, here's the address, please send help, goodbye, click. That's it. You can hang up on the 911. Again, it's part of the matrix. They work for us. We don't work for them. We got to change our brains here. We are in charge, right? Governments are instituted for what purpose? To protect our rights. That's the best answer of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is there to tell everybody about the rights that we have already, having nothing to do with the establishment of a government. All of your rights preceded the formation of our government. That's how free societies operate. We don't grovel to the government and ask for another link on our chain. It's un-American. Traffic stops. You want to get cute? Look, my take on the traffic stop, try not to be killed. I wrote an article entitled Surviving a Traffic Stop. I don't care about the ticket, okay? Forget the ticket, sacrifice the ticket, don't get shot. As Maj was saying, you make a furtive movement, the cop says, oh, I thought he was reaching for something. That doesn't help you while you got a hole in your head. 10 and 2, totally cooperative. You want to fight with this dude? Let's do it in court afterwards. Your goal, don't die. Nothing better, nothing's going to improve your life, but you're not driving out of there improved. The only thing that's going to happen is potential downside. So limit that. Get out of there. We're not chit-chatting. 10 and 2. You want to talk to the cop? Wait till he tells you you're free to leave. Then you're done. Traffic stop over. But if you want to chat, you get out chatty with the cop and try to talk your way out of the speeding ticket, that's on you. Little tip. If you got 100 pounds of weed in the trunk or a dead body or something or problems with a weapon, you might want to just take the first piece of advice and shut up and take the ticket and move on. Don't get cute. Another exception, after consultation, like the Steinmetz case, we got a few rules in Arizona that I think are unconstitutional. I don't like the fact that you have to answer. I heard from Maj tonight, we got states out there that say, you've got to tell the cop you've got a gun? Are you kidding me? I don't believe we would tolerate that shit in Arizona. I certainly hope not. I've been disappointed before. You do not have to tell the cop you got a gun, nor should you, unless he's about ready to find it. Then I don't think he should be surprised. But the law in Arizona is now, if they ask you, do you have a firearm, you are now required to answer that question, and you're required to answer it truthfully. I think this is a violation of your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and I'm looking for a case to take that up. But that is the law in Arizona, period. Also, if they have reasonable suspicion to detain you, you have to give your true full name. It doesn't mean you got to answer, where are you coming from? Where are you going? How much have you had to drink? Can I search for drugs? Do you have any guns? Well, the guns you have to answer. But all of these other questions, that's it. I'm going to do a talk on traffic stops real fast. You got to pull over. You got to give them license, registration, proof of insurance. You got to get out of the car. Even if you're a passenger, you got to get out of the car. No, they don't have to give you any information about that. Get your ass out of the car. Unless you like to be pepper sprayed or shot or dragged out, get out of the car.
If they tell you.
If they tell you, absolutely. Very good point. If they tell you get out of the car, get out of the car. Sit there at 10 and 2 until they tell you what to do. I like the approach of, what would you like me to do next, officer? Sue, I don't care if you hate cops. And there's nothing that says you got to respect cops. I'm here only saying you should pretend to respect cops if you don't respect cops, at least for the traffic stop. Okay, moving along. Self-defense. We got tons of rules about this. Put that all to the side for a second. It's about reasonableness. People like to ask me questions all the time. They go like this. Hey, Mark, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm sleeping and I hear a noise and I get up and I grab my gun and I see someone, they're doing this and that. Can I shoot them? Here's how I hear this question. Hey, Mark, I'd like you to predict for me what a randomly selected group of strangers from my community will find reasonable. The answer to that question is important, because if they say what you did was reasonable, then you go home. You buy your lawyer a nice dinner. If they say what you did was unreasonable, then you go to prison. You don't want to be in this situation. This is what self-defense is about. It's as if I was standing in front of the jury at the end of the case, saying, ladies and gentlemen, now that you've heard all the witnesses, now that you've heard all the evidence, we'd like you to answer one simple question for us. Is what the defendant did, is that reasonable under all of these circumstances? I don't want to be in that position. Neither should you. I am the most conservative person in this room about pulling out your firearm. I'm okay with getting punched in the face without pulling out my firearm. I don't want to take that chance. I am not going to let my freedom be at risk of people who don't even think that we should have guns at all. And if you don't think that's the case, you should come sit with me while I pick a jury. Because every single time I pick a jury, in this state, probably the most gun-friendly state in the nation, or something damn close to it. Every time there's a gun charge, they say, raise your hand if you think the laws regarding firearms are too strict.
Everybody.
Raise your arm if you think, hands if you think they're not strict enough. I always get people who think the law's not tough enough and should be tougher. And then I question those people in a way they have no idea where I'm coming from. Mr. Jones, you are number 56 or whatever, you said the laws should be tougher. What do you mean by that? I'll always get people in the room who say, I don't think citizens ought to have guns. And I'm going to tell you something. Everybody who raised their hand and said, oh, I love the NRA, I'm a life member, they're gone. Right. Prosecutor's going to get rid of that person. Everybody who said, I think everybody you should be able to have a nuclear warhead in your house without any registration, they're gone. And then what we're left with is the people who I've been staring at, and they've been staring at me, and we got no idea what's going on in their head. Okay? Those are going to be the people on your jury. We got some sort of planned rules. Arizona has already decided in some cases to give you some guidance of what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. For example, if you are using self-defense against a threat that was not imminently present, it's not reasonable. I don't care. Somebody says, I'm going to punch you in the face in a half an hour when I see you or whatever. You got to wait half an hour to throw down. You don't get to punch him right now. It's got to be imminent. Arizona is telling you, if it's not an imminent threat, right now kind of threat, it ain't reasonable. Period. If you're using deadly physical force to protect property, no matter how valuable that property is, it ain't reasonable. This is why you keep your mouth shut, right? Because you want to say, I shot the dude because he was stealing my very expensive 90-inch screen TV. And the Patriots were just coming on to spank the Philadelphia Eagles or something. It could happen. Or we could say Celtics spanking the 76. I don't know. I've gone off the rails a tad. But if you say that, you're going to lose. But if you keep your mouth shut and your lawyer reminds you that what was actually going on was the guy who was stealing the TV was threatening to hit you over the head with it, well, now you're not using deadly force to protect the TV. You're using deadly force to protect against another's imminent use of raw illegal force that was about to cause serious physical injury or death, and you could be exonerated under those facts. This is why you keep your mouth shut. But it's a rule that you should know about. Also, mere words. No matter how offensive the words are, you never get to use self-defense. I don't care how, even if somebody said, you know, the Eagles are going to beat the Patriots this year. As offensive as that might be, you don't get to punch someone in the face over something like that. That's just something Arizona has decided is reasonable. What I'm trying to communicate, or unreasonable, what I'm trying to communicate here is, yes, you should know what these rules are if you're going to carry a firearm. Because Arizona is telling you in advance, this is what we've decided is reasonable and unreasonable. But in a larger context, you don't want to be the person sitting there in court wondering whether those 12 jurors are going to come back, or 8 depending on the charge, and determine whether you've acted reasonably or unreasonably. Because anybody who's had a conversation with another human beings over periods of time knows people disagree over what's reasonable all the time. That's all it is. Number 3, you guys love to talk about the law. The law is important. We lawyers, we almost never argue about the law. It's very rare that we're sitting there having some argument about how the law applies. We know how the law applies. We're arguing about the facts. You guys come into my office and tell me what happens. You come in, you're charged with ag assault, you pulled out your firearm, whatever, and I listen, I say, man, that's a great story. 5 guys were trying to beat you up. They didn't like whatever, the color of your skin. They said horrible things. They were trying to beat you up. You pulled out your firearm. Oh, it maybe sounds like a decent story. Until I call the prosecutor and say, hey, man, you're prosecuting my guy for trying to defend himself in a legitimate way. He says, that ain't the story I got. Those 5 guys, they say your guy pulled out the gun, pointed it at him between his eyes and said, I'm going to blow your head off. We're always fighting about the facts. If we didn't have factual disputes, we wouldn't have trials. That is the purpose of the trial. When you give me the factual question and say, this happened, this happened, this happened, can I shoot? The facts never come in like that. This guy says this is what happened. This guy says something different happened. Someone else says something happened. And guess who the most biased person in the room is going to be? You, the defendant. You are not going to be believed. You've got the most to win or lose. Guess who's going to be the most believable person always? The person with the shiny badge. No matter what. I could tell you stories if we had more time, but we don't. I know we're moving fast. Number 4, mandatory minimum sentences. Holy crap, if you don't understand this stuff, you got no hope of understanding the system. Almost every gun crime is mandatory minimum. That means if you get convicted, you're going to prison. And because of this fact, most people won't risk a jury trial. You are going to lose your right to a jury trial because you won't take the risk of losing. And when they offer you a plea guilty, plea bargain, get a guaranteed 100% chance of probation, or roll the dice, and you're looking at 10 years in prison, you're all going to take the deal. And I'm going to tell you, it sucks. It's the worst part of my job, standing next to someone who should be going to trial because they got a good case, and I could probably win it, but they won't take the risk. No lawyer's going to give you better than 50% chance at trial. Nobody's going to give you better than that. And you are not going to take a 50% risk of going to prison when you've got a 100% guarantee of probation. It's not going to happen. Worse, you're going to become a prohibited possessor, you're going to lose your gun rights, and you're going to be a stat for the other side of a wrongful use of a firearm. This is why avoiding the situation is the most important thing to understand. If you're carrying a gun because you're excited about pulling it out, don't carry a gun. You should expect it's going to be boring as hell. That's the right attitude about carrying a gun. Okay, so final thing, what to think about when you're thinking about whipping it out. You got a couple seconds to think about it. What are you guys laughing about? All the guys are laughing. Look, if you got more than a couple seconds to make this decision, the answer is don't whip it out, right? Because it's got to be imminent. Here's what I want you thinking in your head. If I whip it out right now, I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be escorted to the ground. If anybody here's ever been escorted to the ground, you know what I'm talking about. It ain't much of an escort. Think of it as I'm going to have my face smashed into the floor. You're going to be cuffed, stuffed, taken to jail, and then someone's going to make an argument that you shouldn't get bombed. I'm just saying, somebody could make that argument. Not only that, we got this little game we play in Arizona now, where we give you a bond, because we don't want to seem unreasonable, but just to make it extra unreasonable, it's a cash-only bond. You can't even use a bondsman. Very common now, cash-only bonds. They should be unconstitutional, but they're not. You're going to go through this horrible year. You're going to spend tons of money on a criminal defense lawyer, which is way more than you wanted to spend, which was zero, right? Again, you're going to be in for a miserable time. Let's call that being prosecuted. That's terrible. If what is about to happen to you is worse than being prosecuted, then whip it out. What do I mean by this? Okay, if you don't pull out your gun right now, you're going to be dead. Okay, let's run it through the analysis. Dead? Prosecuted. Prosecuted's bad. I'm thinking dead. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking dead's probably worse. So pull it out. If I don't pull out my gun right now, someone I like or love is going to be dead. Okay, prosecute me. I had a guy came into my office, charged with assault dangerous, whipped out his firearm. I asked him, why did you pull out your gun? You know what he said? I was being disrespected. He was, true story. Disrespected or prosecuted. Seriously? I'm like, disrespect the shit out of me all day long. I do not want to be prosecuted. That's the Marc J. Victor. I hope you're getting the vibe of what I'm saying. If you're going to carry, be super conservative. In fact, I'm so conservative, and I'll tell you, I see this all the time, including this week, and half this group's going to disagree with me, so let me leave on a controversial note. Lest I leave without saying something controversial. I'm just saying, I don't think you should carry with the round in the chamber. Now, I understand. Let me make my case. Unless maybe you're in Philadelphia or something. I don't know. But look, the danger of an accidental discharge is very real. And you might not think that that's a criminal offense. Not only is an accident, a total accidental discharge, a major felony, it's a mandatory prison offense in this state for first time. I see, if you ask me, Mark, what is the most common way good people get in big trouble with firearms? That's it. An accidental discharge. An oops. I understand there's a tactical disadvantage because you got to go like I get that, and that could cost you your life. It's just my judgment, maybe for me personally, and I'm just telling you about my judgment. I don't want to have an accidental discharge. And I think the risk of that is so much higher than the chances that you're going to lose your life because you can't go when you pull it up. I'm just saying. So there's my controversial thought. Anyways, I hope you guys take this. I laid it all out in here. Read this. I'm available 24/7, 365. No, you don't have to give me any money for me to talk to you. But guess what I'm going to tell you? If you call me in the middle of the night and wake my ass up, and say I was just in the shooting, the cops are coming. Guess what I'm going to tell you? This is a smart crowd, man.
All right, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Cassie's got another.
And I want to plug us for a second. Follow us at AZ Firearms, not Arizona Firearms.
Not Arizona Firearms.
We are AZ Firearms. Second, Gun Freedom Radio. Dan and Cheryl co-host that show. We've had all these people on the show. And you can go online and you can listen to Maj's interviews and you can listen to Mark's interviews. Follow those. Follow Maj Toure. Follow Black Guns Matter. And all the vendors here too, please. Okay? That's my plug.
All right, and as soon as Cassie gets done drawing these numbers, we're going to learn about the tool, learn about the equipment from our
883219.
Woo! Right in the center of the room. From our two of our instructors, as you've seen, we have several instructors in the room. But two of our instructors, now Mike Abramovich, he was my concealed carry instructor. So I'll let you borrow him, but he's my concealed carry instructor. Mike and I have known each other for a good decade, and just an awesome guy. He's taught all of the well-armed women, and she's also in the room with can answer any questions you have. And John just took off, but he's coming back up. Oh, John Correa has active self-protection, and his tagline is "Cover your ass."
Say the P.
Asp. Yes. Yeah. Active self-protection. And Cassie's got one more to go.
All right, this is for one of Maj's t-shirts. 883271. 883271.
He's approaching. All right, fantastic. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to John Correa, and then he's going to talk to you about the actual equipment involved. Are you going to use the microphone?
I'm going to, because I'm going to go back here. I don't know. Can you hear me in the back? All right, they can hear me in the back, okay? Then go ahead and lead it. Okay, so I'm going to start with, Mark came up, and the first thing he did was disagree with something that Maj said. Right? So now it's my turn. I'm a firearms trainer, it's what I do. And if you want to find me, so what I'm known for, what my specialty is people send me real-life surveillance videos of armed robberies, carjackings, stabbings, muggings, and I narrate them for lessons learned. Okay? And the best way to find me, if you want to watch those, they're 2 to 6 minutes long, is you just go on YouTube and you search active self-protection. You'll find right now we're reaching about 20 million people a month. Wow. It's crazy. I'm a D-list YouTube celebrity. That's ridiculous. I got recognized in the airport in Houston. Weird. And I'll tell you, I can show you there's about 15 of them on my channel with somebody with an unshaven gun that got killed because they didn't have their gun. That's the bottom line. Okay? I get it. Everybody can set their own priorities with that. When you need the gun, you need it.
I could probably produce 1,000 people who got charged with major felonies because they had an accidental discharge.
So, the answer to bad use is correct use and training. The answer to bad use is correct use and training. Okay? And if you learn how to use the firearm correctly, you learn that when accidental discharges happen, they happen when the gun goes into the holster and when the gun comes out of the holster. You gotta learn how to do that correctly. That takes training. You can't do that here in 10 minutes. Okay? That takes a real class. I just want to show you real quick. You have in here, once again, the little packets, the little handout with the PowerPoint. You've got that. Yeah? Okay? On page 7, on there, I told you I'll train you for free if money's a problem. I am number 2 on page 7 under the panelists. It says John Correa. And Maj very kindly gave you all my cell phone numbers. If you wake Mark up in the middle of the night, he's going to tell you to shut up. If you wake me up in the middle of the night, we're going to fight. Okay? And I may be an old fat white guy, but but I do have an earned black belt, and it won't be good. All right, we don't want to do that. All right, so I just want to show you real quick just the different kinds, and so that way you know them. But you're going to have to spend some time in class. All right, I'll tell you my basic pistol class, which I run the NRA's basic pistol class, typically runs about 9 hours long. Okay, and that covers a lot of material. It's supposed to be 8 hours. This is my NRA training counselor here. He taught me how to be an NRA instructor, and so he's like, "That's an 8-hour class." I suck at it apparently. It takes me 9.
I love it when you want to add things because there's other things that you want to add. That's awesome. It's the people that want to do it in 6 hours. Like
Yeah, that's the problem. My CCW class, so I tell people take basic pistol first, so then you know how a pistol works. Then you take CCW. That's not, in Arizona I know we go, wait, I don't need a permit anymore. I get that. I'll teach you the laws a little bit and within my bailiwick. I'll let be an attorney because I'm not one. I have a soul. I'm only serious.
souls are overrated.
But I will tell you this, one of the things that I say, he didn't say it, but I'll put him on the spot. Okay? Mark, what's your hourly billing rate?
$650 an hour.
Okay? So I'll tell you, I have another friend who's a bar admitted attorney in his state who does self-defense law. If you got you got something, you need him to answer the phone for you, he charges 10 hours up front for him to start answering the phone for you. Okay? So now at $650 an hour, guess what you got to shell out? Yeah, the last one that he went into, the last self-defense case that he got, pre-trial work was about 10 grand. Last one, you get any stink on it? Something's bad about it? You sell the house, cash out your IRA. So just understand that. When I teach use of force, I teach, hey, wait a minute, you recognize $650 an hour goes, and at least any day in court is at least 4 hours of work, minimum. Now you're talking a lot of money, right? So you're like, gosh, man, it's $2,500. For most of us, that's what we make in a month. So serious stuff. So when you're going to learn, you got to learn how to do that correctly. Anyhow, okay, I'm just going to show you real quick. So I'm going to be careful with this because, so we want to talk about the rules of safe firearms handling. Anytime you handle a firearm, I teach the NRA's 3 rules because they're easier to remember. It's 3 always. Number 1, I always keep my firearms pointed in a safe direction. Okay? And that safe direction is where nobody who don't need to get shot would get shot if the gun went off. All right? If you have a bad guy, you got somebody around you who needs to get shot, safest direction pointed gun, is that the person who needs to get shot. Okay? So rule number 1 is always keep firearm pointed in a safe direction. Rule number 2 is always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. And rule number 3 is always keep firearms unloaded until they're in use. That one's a little controversial, but we practice that one on purpose. If you're carrying a firearm defensively, it's being used. It's being used to protect your person, so therefore it's loaded. Otherwise, the second it comes off my person, it's not being used to defend my person, so therefore it's not loaded. Okay? Follow those 3 rules. For somebody to get shot who doesn't need to get shot, you have to break all 3 of them. So we have redundancy built in. So you're going to see me be careful with that. This is a revolver. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is called a revolver. Ready? Because this part goes... Shocking, I know. But the spinny part revolves, and therefore it's called a revolver. Can I get... Sharon, would you come up here and help me? So I always like when I'm demonstrating firearms in an environment with anybody else, just for somebody else to verify. Would you verify that's unloaded for me?
That's unloaded.
Okay. So we verify it's unloaded by looking through the
done?
wheel. And we can verify for this one, but I'm going to have you come up and do some more. Okay? So on a revolver, really quickly, we just want to talk about a couple of parts. I just want to introduce you to it so that you're familiar with it, okay? Because you guys know, you heard this from Maj, right? The words that you use are important. And correct terminology matters. Okay? So we call this a revolver because the cylinder revolves. This gun has a frame, just like your car has a frame. It has a barrel. It has it has a handle or grip. Okay? This one has what we call stocks on it. So you have a trigger guard around your trigger. Right? Now a revolver, almost all of them, you're going to see a hammer on the back of it. Almost all of them. Not everyone. Sometimes the hammer will be inside the action. Okay? But almost always you'll see that. This particular revolver is what they call double action or single action. So if I cock this back, then the trigger only has one job, and that's to drop the hammer. Or if I leave it here, I can pull the trigger, and it will actually cock the gun and then release the trigger as well. Okay? So, everybody understand questions on what and I know. So you're like, I blew through what would take us in class, in a basic pistol class, about 30 minutes worth of nomenclature in about 2. But it's past 8:30, and someone else took all my time. And now he's leaving. Questions specific to a revolver. If you have any questions that are specific to a revolver, typically these have, in most configurations, 5 or 6 rounds. Sometimes you can get them like this that have more. This is a 22, so it's got a little more. But typically 5 or 6 rounds available. Then you got to reload them. Okay, there's a reason cops don't carry these no more. Because it's not a high enough capacity for them. You like to have more. All right, we're going to put this guy aside and move very quickly. This is a semi-automatic handgun. Now this one here, particular one, has a chamber flag. So when we're going to check this one, what we're going to do is we're going to lock the slide to the rear. We're going to put our finger in their magazine, make sure there's nothing in there, and then we're going to verify that there's nothing in the pipe. All right, we have an unloaded gun. Everybody sees this one. They recognize it for what it is. This is like the most genericest gun in the history of Gundam, the Glock 19. Okay? Semi-automatic pistol. Really, did you really just walk in the front of the gun? Is that what you were doing? It was a test of my gun handling.
What you guys are talking about?
Just wanted me to point a gun at her. That's what that was. So, a lot the same thing, but this guy doesn't have a revolver. It's not called a revolver because there's no spinning thing. Right? It's amazing. Okay? Or called a semi-automatic gun because it functions half automatically. When you pull the trigger on this gun, then what happens is that the round goes off. Then as part of the cycle, what happens is the bullet goes out the dangerous end. The rest of the energy pushes the slide back, picks that old case out, puts a new one in from the magazine, and the gun is ready for you to pull the trigger again. So it's semi-automatic. So every time you pull the trigger, it will fire one time. Okay? That's a very common action. So you can get these in all kinds of configurations, but a lot the same thing here. You have the barrel is inside the slide. This is called the slide. You know why this is called the slide? It slides. You got that. That's a good thing. You know why this is called the grip? Because that's where you grip. That's pretty cool, right? You know why this is called the trigger guard? It guards the trigger. It's amazing. Right? See how smart you guys are about firearms. And there's plenty of details on this, but do you have any questions on what a semi-automatic pistol does, how it functions? And we can, I mean, again, in a class we do a lot more than this. I know everybody is tired, and I'm probably tired of this too. All right. So last one that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the Evil Black Rifle because that's what we're here for. Would you verify for me that we have an empty magazine and a flag chain? Okay. So this is. Okay. Yes, please do follow. This is an AR-15 pattern rifle, right? This is a particular style of rifle. This is like the most popular gun in America, right? It's not an assault rifle. That's a particular term. Okay, an assault rifle is a select fire firearm that our soldiers go to combat with. This is a facsimile of that. It looks the same, but it's a semi-automatic rifle. And if you've never been around one, these are actually a ton of fun to shoot. And the reason they're fun to shoot is very little recoil. So you pull the trigger on this one, and it makes a big sound, a big kaboom. But I have video of my youngest at 7 years old running this rifle effectively. Not this particular one, but this kind of rifle. Very effectively. Why? Because it has very little recoil, and because it can be adjusted. So it can be adjusted out. So if you got a long guy like me, I can work it effectively, or it can move in, so that a smaller person can work the same rifle effectively. Okay? So you're going to see a lot of the same things here. The only thing this rifle doesn't have, because it's in the shop, is it doesn't have any sighting system on it. Usually it have a front sight and a rear sight. This particular one doesn't. But you have the same thing. You have the barrel, you have the muzzle end, all the same stuff. You have a grip. Why would I have a grip? So you can grip it. There you go. The one thing a rifle has that a pistol doesn't have really is a stock. Okay? That stock is designed for it to be shouldered, to be put on your shoulder. Really technically not your shoulder. You really want it inside that. Same thing going with the trigger and all that. You have any questions on rifle? I know, right? 8 seconds later, you're like, what do you want me to say on rifle? Okay? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so any of these that you have, I actually don't have any magazines with me to show you. So all of these guns that are what they call magazine fed, you take a magazine and insert it in the magazine run, right? So then the gun is ready, but with the magazine in, a full magazine in, you're still not loaded. This gun still would not fire if you pull the trigger. Then you have to charge the gun. So what you saw me do here is when it's in, if I put a magazine in here, then I have to pull, on an AR-15 style rifle, I have to pull the charging handle back, all the way back. Then that will, when I release it, then that would put a round in the chamber if I have a magazine in the gun. All right, so this is a pistol magazine. It's like a Pez dispenser, right? So on the pistol, same thing. If I'm going to go ahead and put this guy down. And on the pistol, same thing. I have to put a magazine in the gun, and then I wouldn't have this big orange thing in it. So once I have a magazine inserted in the gun, then if I pull the slide back and release it, then that will load around in the chamber, and now the gun is ready to fire. Okay? These are all things that you learn in basic pistol class. The cool part to me in basic pistol class is when people come to any basic pistol, I don't assume you know anything about it. A quick story, the last basic pistol set that I did, I had a lady come in and she had a Glock, that kind of gun, a Glock 19 in a box that she had 2 fingers on each hand on. And she came in and sat it down. And I said, "Hi, how are you?" And she said, I'm about to have a panic attack. And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because that scares me." I said, "Wow, that's impressive." She said, "My son-in-law bought it for me on the Blue Label program. That's cops and firefighters and stuff can buy cheap Glocks." And I was like, "Okay, why did he buy it for you?" "Because he said I needed to be safe." I said, "Do you feel safe?" "No, I'm scared to death." "Okay, well, we'll go as far as your heart feels like it's okay today, and we'll walk on through. And if you don't feel safe shooting this gun by the end of the day, then we won't make it." "Really?" "Yeah, I don't want to scare you. Gracious sakes." "Oh, thank God." Well, we walked through this whole thing, and by the end of the day, she was shooting my big old 44 Magnum revolver and blowing through ammo like you wouldn't believe. My ammo. Like. So, those are your 3 basic things, and when you go to handguns, we're going to work really from those revolvers and from those semi-automatic guns, and there's lots of different brands, and they all function in generally the same way, but there's lots of little things that make each one unique. And which one's best for you? Boy, does that depend on a lot for you, but especially you ladies. Please hear me. Do not let your man choose a gun for you. Okay? People ask me all the time, "John, what gun should I buy my wife?" My answer is always, whichever one she wants. "Well, but which one's right for my wife? I better help her because she doesn't know anything." I said, "How sexist is that? Why don't get her some information and some knowledge and let her learn, and then she can pick one for herself? Because I can tell you that the gun that I like to carry is not the gun that my wife likes to carry. And it doesn't have anything to do with being pink. It doesn't have anything to do with being cute. It has everything to do with what fits her effectively. Okay? So you have to learn that stuff because knowledge is power. And if you're scared of guns, one of the things I always tell people is, do you remember the first time you got behind the wheel of a car? Anybody remember when you first did? Were you a little scared? Remember that you're in driving school and you're like, "Yeah, I have a 3,000-pound bomb that I am now in charge of." And you're scared. Are you still scared? You get behind the wheel today, are you scared? Why not? You're comfortable with it, you're around it, you know it. Same thing. Get to know your firearms, then that way, no matter where, if it's not yours, that's okay. My wife was raised in the Bay Area too, and her first exposure to a gun as an adult was when I lived in San Diego and I was in the Navy, and my upstairs neighbor was a Border Patrol agent. And he is now my best friend in the whole wide world. I was sitting up there talking with him in his apartment. Laura came into his apartment upstairs, and he had his firearm, his duty handgun, in pieces on the coffee table because he was cleaning it. And my wife saw the gun and had a panic attack. In pieces. That's my beautiful, amazing woman who is a midwife today. She helps women have babies. And today, she's a better shot than I am. That took a long time for her to get there, but because she was able to gain knowledge, now she's not scared. Okay? So, basics. If you have any questions, I'm going to stick around for that. If you have basic questions about how firearms operate, what's the best way to approach training, then that's great. Otherwise, we'll turn it back over to you.
Fantastic. And I want to introduce you and give Suzanne a couple of minutes to just talk about what the well-armed woman is. So I'm going to ask her to come up, and then we'll probably start winding down unless you had some comments. Mike? You have some comments? All right. If we have time, we will, definitely. All right, so the well-armed woman is women teaching women, and I just want to introduce Miss Suzanne real quick here to you.
Absolutely. The well-armed woman was founded by Carrie Lightfoot, who, when she decided to learn about firearms, was very disappointed in what she found when she went into gun stores, as well as what was the products available to women. So she has worked with companies to produce, to sell products that are tailored to women. I have some holsters and concealed carry purse here today, but we realize that women are different, and like Jeff touched on, you can't just turn a gun pink and poof, it's great for a woman. It does not work. So it's all tested by women, and as well as our training. Besides the products, we have a nonprofit organization, which is wonderful, with over 350 chapters across the United States. There's 14 right here in Arizona. The format for the chapters is a $50 a year membership, which with meeting once a month comes out to less than $5 a meeting, and you're going to get usually NRA certified instructors helping for free, basically, beyond the membership fee. And we spend an hour in the classroom, we go over all kinds of different topics, continuing to learn, and then we spend an hour on the range. So it's a great way to learn, and then it's a great way to stay proficient, because the NRA recommends no less than training once a month. That would be your minimum, so that you can stay proficient, so that you don't put your finger in the trigger guard and go to draw your firearm if you're going to conceal carry, stuff like that. So I have brochures. Come on over and check it out, and I'll give you the info.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to hear from Mike. We're going to do some drawings, and then Maj is going to wrap us up. I know we're running a little late, and I appreciate everybody sticking around and staying with us. Mike Abramovich.
This won't take long. I want to kind of just give you an overview of you getting training. I'm a big advocate of the government not telling us we need training to own a gun, but I'm also a big advocate, and I believe that everybody who owns a gun should get training. So when everybody, all of the instructors raised their hands, I was able to look around and know that I train more than half of the people that raise their hands. I teach and instruct new instructors, and I've been doing this for a long time. And the only thing I want to let you know is when you are ready to buy a gun and you want training, do some digging. Find out about that instructor you want to take a class from. There's some great instructors out there, and there's some people who are just kind of going through the motion and they don't have the passion for it. So the best thing you can do when you're ready to take a class is talk to other people that have already taken classes and ask them who they learned from, and ask them if they enjoyed it. Was it a good class? Because you're going to hear people say, oh, I took a class, I took it over here. Well, was it a good class? Yeah, I didn't learn much. And then you'll talk to somebody else who said, oh, I took a class from John, and it was awesome. I took a class from the Well and Woman, it was spectacular. So that's the best way you can find somebody who really knows what they're doing and has a passion for safe gun handling. Thanks.
Awesome. It's exciting that I got trained by the best, so. And he's a trainer of trainers. Okay, Cassie, draw some numbers, and let's move along.
We have gift cards and one hat. We're going to do 3 picks. 883210.
Yes.
Do you want a $25 gift card or a hat?
All right. Yeah, gun bucket. Thank you.
And then go pick another one.
I do.
883264.
Oh!
All right, and for our last prize, it's a hat. You'll pick one. 883303.
All right.
Well, congratulations, everybody, and thanks again for staying late. I'm going to hand the microphone back over to Maj, and he's going to talk us out.
We have one more, the 50-50
Oh, the
raffle.
50-50. I was trying to keep that for myself.
You guys got us $200, so 100 will go to the winner, and 100 will go to Black Guns.
So what we're going to do is we're going to send to your GoFundMe page. And how do you get to the GoFundMe page for some of these people out here in
Well,
Black? No.
I'm so glad that you asked that. GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter. Whatever donation you want to do is cool. And if you go, we also have a website, officialblackgunsmatter.com, you can get to the GoFundMe from that link too.
And Easy Firearms, it's there too. So
Yep.
if you got here through the Facebook event page, it's on there too.
Yep.
So if somebody's going to win $100. You get to draw the lucky ticket.
All right. 450503.
It's the tan ticket,
With the tan one,
the
y'all.
white ticket.
Y'all tickets
Get
that.
almost back there.
Nobody? They went home? I'm gonna say it again.
Going once.
450503. I'm gonna pull again.
Going once. Going twice.
All right. 450524.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop a minute. Come over, no, you come here. Come
I
here.
thought you said whoa.
No, I said whoa to her. Just, I know you like to give money away, but what's your name? Stephanie. I'm going to give $100 to their group. Now, there's $100 in that handbook there. In this envelope, there's some money. Right? So what we can do is we can give $200 to Black Guns Matter, and you take this envelope, or you can take that $100, and I'll put this envelope with that. You can still do that. Okay. She chooses to take the envelope. Look and see how much is in there. Yep.
Say nothing.
And she gets to walk with some money.
To $1 million. Maybe not quite.
I got to get me a job now.
Hey, so thank everybody for coming out. I hope that first, did everybody have a good time?
Yes.
Did you learn something?
Yes.
Now, this is completely beginner. Calibers of bullets, cartridges alone is a rabbit hole. So your information base is just starting at this point. I want to make sure that everybody's linking up, getting the information from all of the vendors, all the attorney, Mark and all this stuff is around, the firearms instructor, the other instructors, make yourself available. Even outside of that, make sure that you're sharing your social media information amongst each other. All right? This is all very critical. But the biggest thing is, we're going to leave. You have to consistently interact with all of the people here and develop that community. If not, you just came in just to kind of talk trash. All right? Is that fair? All right, so anybody want pictures and